Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please let's go to the headlines.
Tonight, breaking news in New York City. Federal agents sweeping in. Coming in now, late today, federal agents, including ICE, launching a crackdown in New York City, sweeping through Canal Street in Lower Manhattan. Chaos erupting, traffic coming to a halt. Multiple people detained tonight. We'll take you live to Lower Manhattan. Also tonight, sources tell ABC News President Trump is now pushing the Justice Department to pay him $230 million in taxpayer money for past investigations involving Trump. The U.S. taxpayers would foot the bill. The government shutdown tonight, day 21, no signs of compromise. Millions of Americans now affected, real worries for many about putting food on the table. Meantime, at the White House, President Trump hosting Republican senators, calling the sound of demolition at the White House for the president's new $250 million ballroom music to his ears. The pilots to become Louvre. See the gallery at the window where those thieves dressed as construction workers broke in, stealing jewels worth $3 million. James Longman takes us in tonight. This evening, the January 6th rider threatening to kill Democratic House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. There is news tonight about longtime Today host Brian Gumbel rushed to the hospital in New York City. And the stunning images tonight from across the country. And when it reaches peak. From ABC News World Democrats cast vote against funding the government. With no sign of a breakthrough on all these health care and Obamacare issues, President Trump is hosting Senate Republicans for lunch in the brand newly renovated, he said, Rose Garden.
And did you know that this next CR would expire a month from today? So here we go. Senate Majority Leader John Thune with this diagnosis of the stalemate.
The biggest or any other issue. It's the Democrats' far-left base. Left-wing activists demanded a showdown with President Trump. Democrats fell in line.
Chad programs on Capitol Hill. Any movement, Chad?
Well, you know, most tours in the Capitol are closed in because of the shutdown, but let me escort you through the government shutdown tunnels this morning. The White House meeting with Republicans is important, but Democrats say nothing will happen until the president negotiates.
But Donald Trump definitively needs to get involved. He needs to get off the sidelines. Donald Trump clearly wants the government shut down. He's doing campaign on the people. This will not change until Donald Trump gives Republicans permission to sit down with Democrats.
Now, the lunch at the White House with Senate Republicans and the president is not a negotiation. Thompson dared to block worker. It's kind of risky. It's just, you get wild tens of thousands of workers out there are concerns about air controllers and TSA. Republicans believe the pay issue will begin to pressure Democrats to drop their resistance.
They're open for paying all federal workers. Why don't they reopen the government? What else is really left if they're not fighting to what? They're trying to keep the EPA closed at that point down?
The Senate has now blocked the GOP funding bill 11 times. There's no urgency to end the shutdown because both sides believe they are winning, and that likely remains the case until there's a crisis.
Okay, Chad, thank you. In a matter of minutes, we will take you. Tonight, breaking breaking news as we come on the air. Federal agents opening fire in L.A. 2 people injured, including a deputy U.S. Marshal. DHS officials say it was an ICE traffic stop turned violent. An undocumented immigrant allegedly trying to ram their car before shots rang out. The new video showing someone on a gurney with emergency personnel near the scene. It comes on the same day ICE carried out a raid in New York City and amid escalating violence surrounding ICE operations. Also tonight, the startling image. What slammed into about the White House pressing pause on President Trump's upcoming meeting with Vladimir Putin. Is there still a path to peace in Ukraine? Baby left behind. The new images tonight of a woman wanted for questioning after a baby was allegedly abandoned at a subway station in New York City. Video out of Georgia. A man pouring gasoline inside a daycare center and setting the place ablaze. A manhunt now underway for the suspect. And the haunted heist from a Dallas school. Who stole this skeleton dressed as a Dallas Maverick? The surveillance video of the theft and of the Mavs mascot stepping in to make it right. And new questions rocking the chess world tonight after a 29-year-old grandmaster unexpectedly died. Top story starts right now.
From Asia to the Americas, the world's top industrial zones are being recognized for their excellence, innovation. Hello, good morning. It is 6 a.m. and on today's breakfast program, a shocking piece of advice handed down by a now sacked senior manager of the UK's largest housing association.
First, we'll get the latest cost of living data with inflation forecast to rise to 4%.
It is Wednesday, the 22nd of October.
Don't demand a attention to this. Just put it up and just blame it off. Take a picture. It's not don't make it how you do like that.
The leaked instructions by that now sacked manager in Clarion on how to pretend to put important safety notices in one of their buildings. For the second night, demonstrations outside of a hotel dumped sparked by an alleged sexual assault there on Monday morning. The Home Secretary's back the Gang's inquiry as it is after a third resignation from the victims liaison panel. And in the sport, Erling Haaland scored for the Hello, everyone. Thank you. Sky News has received a leaked recording of a senior manager like captain and war in Ukraine. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has called for more patience amid concerns of the stripping Gaza ceasefire. He's in Israel to bolster the truce, but has been threatened by a new wave of violence. Mr. Vance said he's optimistic about future are going to expect this former President has got a 5-year prison term. He was convicted for eliciting illegal funding from Libya for his presidential 2007 election campaign. Sarkozy will be held in solitary confinement under his prison due to concerns for his safety. He maintains his innocence and is appealing his conviction. This is from Berlin. More news on our website.com.
And I'm Amna Nawaz. On the NewsHour tonight, President Trump's push to end foreign wars faces a test as cracks show.
Your institutions government's policy.
Headed to World Series.
I don't know how to describe it. This is awesome.
The Jewish and how much to shell out for a ticket. Unplugged GM's land production in Ontario. It's the end of the road.
We're going to hold them accountable.
Backlogs and bad advice. The Auditor General's scathing indictment of CRA call centers.
I can appreciate the frustration.
How the government plans to improve it. Plus military money, the ambitious new plan to beef up defense spending. And the U.S. president is demolishing part of the White House.
It'll be the finest.
What he's building and who's paying for it.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. Israel's continuing deadly attacks across the Gaza Strip despite the ceasefire with Hamas that went into effect October 10th. Gaza health officials say at least 13 Palestinians were killed, 8 others wounded by Israeli fire over the past 24 hours. The killings came as the World Health Organization warned many of the 170,000 Palestinians injured by Israel's assault on Gaza will need rehab care and support for years to come, with some 42,000 facing life-changing injuries. This is Mahmoud al-Nakala, a displaced Palestinian who sought care for his daughter at Gaza City's Al Daraj clinic, which was repeatedly bombed by Israel.
My wife's mother and my 2 daughters were killed, and my daughter Dana was seriously injured. Currently, we are at the hospital. There are no treatments or any medical supplies. There are even flies in the skin.
This is Asia Now.
It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi, and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Rani Samtani at this hour. North Korea fires multiple ballistic missiles. The launch comes just days before world leaders gather for an APEC meeting in South Korea. Seoul calls for an emergency security meeting as Washington and Tokyo monitor the situation. The U.S. and Russia at odds over efforts to end the Ukraine war. A Trump-Putin summit has been called off after Russia rejected calls for a ceasefire.
I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a wasted time, so I'll see what happens.
And Malaysia gears up to host the ASEAN summit. Staying united a top priority for the bloc as it navigates regional and international issues.
Joining us, you're watching Daybreak on France 24. These are the headlines. Strikes continue across Ukraine. The latest images of attacks are from those along the border with Russia. However, at least 2 people reported to have been killed in overnight strikes on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, with fire sparked across the city. Kyiv says it hit a weapons factory in Russia for its part. The latest bombings in the war come as plans for another meeting between the US President Donald Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin shelved, for now at least. Insisting that the ceasefire is going well despite the clear violations seen with Israeli bombings of Gaza and ongoing blockades on aid. US Vice President J.D. Vance, continuing his visit to Israel, has called for patience as the bodies of Israeli hostages continue to be recovered and the remains of Palestinians handed over in return.
Colombia overturns the conviction of former President Alvaro Uribe. He had been sentenced to 12 years house arrest after being found guilty of witness tampering. The courts now say the evidence was not sufficient. Good to have you with us. Well, also coming up in this part of the programme, a review of the international newspapers. One story that's grabbed the attention of Elitsa Gadava is the news that mosquitoes have now been spotted in Iceland. It was the last remaining place on our planet, apart from Antarctica, that was free of the often disease-carrying critters.
Extreme weather warnings in place with temperatures soaring in New South Wales and wild winds set to lash Victoria.
Could see a number of locations in New South Wales and southern Queensland see record temperatures for October.
Prime Minister's plane diverted to Missouri after a medical emergency involving an officer on board. The US shelves plans for a second face-to-face meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. And is the gold rush over? The local share market down following a plunge in the price of precious metals. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Ross Childs. Authorities are bracing for wild weather across
9 months after he was pardoned by President Trump, a January 6 rioter is charged with threatening to assassinate the top Democrat in Washington.
Pardons of hundreds of violent felons on January 6 has consequences.
Also tonight, the great Louvre jewel heist. Why the thieves may get only a fraction of what the haul is worth, if they can sell them at all. Why did they do it?
It's a good question. Tropical storm Melissa formed today in the Caribbean. It is expected to become a hurricane. We'll have the latest on where it's headed.
And when eating on the job is the job.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening.
Africa News. The news.
Uganda's Electoral Commission says the 15th of January has been set as the final date for the country's next general elections. 81-year-old President Yoweri Museveni, who's been in power since 1986, is seeking re-election in the polls. Now Africa's fourth longest ruling leader, his government has changed the constitution twice, removing age and term limits to allow him to seek further terms in office. The former rebel, Museveni has been credited with stabilizing Uganda, promoting economic growth and combating HIV/AIDS. But critics denounce his government's suppression of political opponents, human rights abuses and corruption scandals. Museveni's main contender is expected to be pop star turned politician Bobby Wine. Wine, whose real name is Robert Kyagulanyi, has capitalized on his singing fame to rally a large base of young voters. He stood against Museveni in the 2021 election and claims the president won the votes through ballot stuffing, voter intimidation, bribery and other electoral fraud.
8 days after Cameroon's presidential election, the National Vote Counting Commission released provisional results pointing to the victory of incumbent President Paul Biya. The commission said Biya arrived first with over 53% of the votes in front of his main opponent Issa Chiroma Bakari at 35%. But these preliminary results are already disputed in the country. Opposition candidate Issa Chiroma has been claiming victory for the past week. On Sunday night he started releasing his own tally, which placed him in first place with about 60% of the votes. Chiroma has called official figures inaccurate and called for greater transparency. The controversy has stirred tensions in Cameroon. Demonstrations erupted across the country in recent days, with some protesters accusing authorities of electoral fraud. In several major cities, protests ended in clashes with security forces. The Constitutional Council should publish official results by October 26. If validated, the outcome would see Paul Biya extend his 42-year rule at the helm of Cameroon. At 92 years old, Biya is already one of the longest-serving leaders in Africa.
Defiant former French President Nicolas Sarkozy leaving for La Santé prison on Tuesday to the chance of his supporters. He arrived at the institution less than an hour later to begin his 5-year sentence, the first ex-leader of modern France to find themselves in jail.
Le temps en prison, c'est une folie.
Time in prison is madness. It's madness. And so he'll go like this with his kit of personal items, and then they'll take him to his cell. They'll open the cell and he'll discover where he'll go. So that's what I've described on several occasions. A small 70-centimeter bed fixed to the floor, a hot plate, a pay refrigerator, a pay TV.
Payant? Une télé payante?
Sarkozy was convicted in September of criminal conspiracy in the case involving Libyan funding of his 2007 presidential campaign. In a statement on his way to jail, he said an innocent man was being locked up.
He can ask to be arrested, but he will not decide. Something that you have to understand, that you decide nothing in jail. You decide nothing. Even you are president.
Hello there, very good morning to you. The Home Secretary says there will be no hiding place for what are called grooming gangs in Britain.
Shabana Mahmood has told GB News the upcoming statutory national inquiry will focus on the predatory monsters in the gangs and is not and never will be watered down on her watch.
She's pledged that the inquiry will explicitly examine the ethnicity and religion of the offenders.
However, as a third victim has now resigned from their role in the government's inquiry, citing that they felt like a cover-up and created a toxic environment for survivors, will these victims see justice?
Nearly 2 million foreign citizens are claiming benefits in Britain, with a further nearly 1.5 million claims made by foreign-born individuals who now hold British citizenship.
The King and Queen will begin their state visit to the Holy See today, where the King will be the first British monarch to pray with the Pope in 500 years.
It comes as a new poll which shown that 80% of Britons support formally stripping Prince Andrew of his dukedom. What do you think?
Our reporter Judy Beattie is caught up in protests as a police van has been left in flames. This is after a migrant hotel protest in Dublin which exploded after an alleged sexual assault in the early hours of Monday morning.
And it's revealed almost a third of churches across Britain are said to have uncertain futures. We're asking, should the government step in to save our churches, or is that up to you?
And in sport, very good night for English teams in the Champions League. Arsenal scored 4, Newcastle 3, Manchester City scored 2, and no goals conceded between them. It's like a maths lesson. Frank Lampard's Coventry extend their lead at the top of the Championship, and the Spanish League game in Miami has finally been cancelled.
Hello there, good morning. It's going to be a day of sunshine and showers before some wet windy arrives later with some let office warnings in force. Stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
Hello there, very good morning to you on this Wednesday morning. She'll tell you who she is in a second. Eamon Holmes here, and
I'm Penny Smith, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.